Welcome back, everyone, to Tip of the Spear with your Missoula County Commissioners. I'm Commissioner Dave Strohmeyer. I'm joined by Commissioner Juanita Vero today. Unfortunately, our colleague Josh Slotnick is unable to make it. His loss, because we have a great show for you today, a great guest with us. Today we are joined by Bear Manager at Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, Jamie Jonkel. And Jamie is here to talk with us a little bit about Bear Smart community program that we are working on here in Missoula County, and how other partners are also joined in this effort to try to make this a community that is both safe and healthier for bears and people in this county. So welcome to the show, Jamie.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me.
We're so delighted you're here. So yeah, background on yourself and who you are, and because our listeners might not know your long and storied resume.
I've been with the department, I think, for 26, 27 years now. I started out just as a wildlife management area fence mender. And then luckily, I had a good background with grizzly bears and black bears and lions. And as our population of grizzlies increased, I was able to just sort of slide in. So I've been like the official bear manager for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks for about 24 years, I say.
Oh, wow.
And I've seen a lot of changes over that time.
Yeah, what are some of those trends?
Well, with the grizzlies, we went from just having a handful of grizzly bears in the Blackfoot Valley to today, where we have probably in that Ovando-Helmville Valley 15 to 25 resident females that are pumping out young every 3 or 4 years. When I first showed up, I probably only knew of about 2 different females. And these are females living in the valley floor. They're not our mountain bears. So we've been seeing a tremendous upsurge of grizzly bear activity all over Region 2. In fact, let's see, I guess it was Friday, we had 2 little grizzlies show up here in the Missoula Valley again.
Oh, wow.
Different than our family group, the North Hills female. These 2 little bears, I think, came over from Potomac. We had video and photos of 2 little kind of skinny whiffets that had very distinctive features that showed up then by Chamara Loop, Tura, trying to cross Interstate 90. That was Friday. And then they were seen a couple other times earlier that Saturday morning. But now we just got a report of 2 grizzlies matching their description way over kind of down by the MPG ranch.
So what sort of range do these things have?
Well, they will travel just like us. When we're out of high school, we'll bolt and go to California. I think Mom probably just cast them off and they're on a walkabout. Hopefully they'll stick together and stay out of trouble. But they explore. But the biggest barrier is I-90, and it looks like they did get across. So I'll keep everyone up to speed on that. But here in Missoula, we've been beating the drum for years about all our black bear issues. We've tried a lot of different things over time. We got our garbage ordinance years ago in the Missoula Bear Buffer Zone Working Group in place. It had a good impact. It solved some of the problems, but it was only on city territory. Mm-hmm. So you'd have one neighbor that lived within the city limits, but right across the way you'd have a county person. They didn't have to do anything with our garbage. Really, our garbage issues and bear attractant issues have just increased in Missoula year after year, tenfold. It's gotten to the point now where I'm kind of worried. We've just got way too many bears wandering around, the perimeters, the Missoula area, getting into garbage nightly, pulling bird feeders down, up on porches, that kind of thing. So lucky for us, a lot of citizens are feeling the same way. And I know they just lobbied the commissioners to death the last 2 years. I know you guys have been getting letters and phone calls. So has the city council. And then this winter, I believe it was you guys actually asked us to look at it through our Missoula Bear Buffer Zone work group. And so we met. That's where we came up with the concept of maybe trying the Bear Smart approach, which is a provincial government approach used in Canada that just tries to encourage communities to become savvy, common sense type behavior in bear country. It seems to be working here in Missoula. I mean, we've got a lot of folks really interested in trying something different.
Talk to us a little bit more about our version of this Bear Smart community program. Who are the players in this?
Well, right now, the Bear Buffer Zone Work Group, which is a bunch of sort of concerned citizens or neighborhood council folks, NGOs, city folks, county folks that have already been working together for years when we did the Missoula Bear Ordinance and the Missoula Bear Buffer Zone. We just kind of came together, looked at what they were doing up in Canada, compared that to what they just got done doing in Virginia City and Whitefish and Jackson and Red Lodge. And we were like, well, why don't we try to do that here in Missoula as well? And just the catchphrase was Bear Smart. a bear smart community. So we're sort of adapting that and kind of probably going to make it our own. But the idea is just to get everyone to get on board with like saying, yeah, let's try to do the right thing. And so we put together a hazard assessment for the county and for the city that addressed all the issues that bring bears into our community. We have a nice attachment that goes with that goes into more detail. And then we have a fairly good rough draft on a management plan now. And so we'll be bringing that to the commissioners and the city council and the mayor. You guys can look at it. And there's talk of kind of seeing if you think it's a good idea.
What are some of the highlights of this plan? Again, for listeners who might not have any idea what the certification
You bet. The big one is garbage. And we've been working very nicely with Republic Services for years. There's a new garbage company in town too. But we'd like to solidify a relationship where it's easier for the community to get bear-resistant dumpsters and bear-resistant garbage cans. Maybe negotiate some of the prices. In a lot of areas, we flat should not have non-bear-resistant garbage cans. It makes no sense to have them. There's a huge rise in the number of folks that are doing the mini homestead thing, getting chickens, getting goats, getting sheep, raising their own pigs. And we've seen a lot of conflicts rise as a result of that. And so there's some great programs, where you can get free electric fence, good manuals on stewardship, just sort of like good information on how not to bring grizzlies and black bears and lions, skunks and raccoons onto your property, because I hate to say it, there are a lot of people that are doing everything in their power to bring them in. Just getting all that good stewardship in one place, get the city to endorse it, maybe strengthening some wildlife feeding laws. A lot of times we don't even have the ability to go bear resistant in a county. Just getting some wording in there that will even allow the concept to take place. So that's sort of what this effort is.
What you've just described, is it already happening in places like Red Lodge or Whitefish?
Yes. So a lot of communities just got sick and tired of it and took it on their own. Actually, one of the very first communities in Montana to go what we call Bear Smart was Red Lodge. And the way they did it, they had so many grizzlies running around town, that at night on a Friday, people walking the alleys after drinking all night were stumbling into grizzlies, trying to get in the garbage. They ended up getting a kind of like a resort tax. It was a beverage tax, penny a drink, and allowed them to go completely bear smart. They got their dump electrified. They got their bear-resistant garbage cans in place.
And that was just within the city of Red Lodge, or did it go throughout Carbon County?
And I meant West Yellowstone as the very first. I bet I misspoke.
Oh, okay.
But
West Yellowstone, got it.
But then Red Lodge did this about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Keep that in mind.
Red Lodge just said, hey, we're sick and tired of having, 45 bears running around getting into garbage every night. Let's sit down with Republic Services, look at our contract, and just go bear smart. So they sat down with Republic, and Republic said, yep, this is what it'll take to get every home site in Red Lodge a bear-resistant garbage can. And they went from there. I believe it was through taxation. Jackson Hole is going through the throes of that right now. They're about the same stage we are here in Missoula, where they're just sort of thinking about it, throwing ideas around. Whitefish just went through something similar. And then the town of Virginia City is actually already bear smart, and they've negotiated all their stuff and have a new contract with the disposal company, and they're way ahead of all of us. Big Sky.
When you said Whitefish is already bear smart, that means they're certified?
No. We will probably not have any kind of certification program here in the lower 48. That's sort of the Canadian thing. Perhaps over time we could slide that down here into the lower 48 and find some vessel to have a certification process. But right now it's more of just the idea and, the pat in the back from other communities and everyone in town like, hey, good job, we're bear smart. We're savvy. We do the common sense things.
Yeah, I guess the proof would be in the pudding if there are fewer human-bear contacts.
Yeah, it'll be easy to measure. Just right now, Eli and Bruce and I, our counting bidder, are probably between the three of us getting 50 calls a day, and a good majority of those.
Who are Eli, Bruce, and yeah?
So our bear management team consists right now of Eli Hampson and Bruce Montgomery and myself, and then we have an offshoot who's under EDGO that also works with us in the Blackfoot named Eric Graham. We're going to hire another guy here pretty soon, or a gal, for the Deer Lodge Valley. So we're getting a good management team, because in the old days, Bob Wiesner, my old partner in bear management, we were overwhelmed. We could hardly function. We had so many calls coming in. We still have a lot of calls, but at least we're divvying them up amongst us now. But this morning I've had 10. I know Eli's had 10, 15. I know Bruce has had 10, 15. And most of them are like, can I have a trap? I bear pulled my bird feeder down the last 3 days. And anymore, we're like, no.
And when you're talking about traps, what kind of traps are you using?
They're culvert traps that we use. We could snare as well, but like a big giant raccoon trap on wheels. In the old days, that's how people dealt with it. It was like, hey, I've got a bear. He's tipped my garbage can over in the backyard 40 times now. Would you come trap him? And that's what they used to do. Anymore, we're like, well, have you got a bird feeder? You do? We won't set a trap or even come there until the bird feeder's been down a week. Oh, you got your garbage outside? Oh, sorry, we will not come in and trap until you've had that garbage locked up for a week, and if the bear's still there, we'll come in. Oh, you've got chickens? It goes down the list. Chickens are a tough one because most folks that are getting them aren't used to raising chickens and, by 30 chicks and put them in the bathtub and let them get big under heat and then just let them in the backyard, And
without fencing.
Without fencing, and then all the predators just like shunt in,
Dinner is served.
So if you're going to have chickens, you're going to have goats, you got to have electric fence.
So, Jamie, just a really nuts and bolts sort of thing. I'm the city slicker on the commission here. I live right down the street here in downtown Missoula.
But you have bear scat in your yard.
I do have bear scat in my yard, and I bet a lot of folks who are in the urban core of a community like Missoula are thinking, oh, this does not look like the wildlands. There's not going to be any bears around here. So we get a little lackadaisical with our trash and whatnot, and I have seen it within the last year where bears have just had a field day right down here between Spruce and Pine Street downtown. If someone notices that happening and either theirs or their neighbors or the entire alley's worth of garbage cans tipped over and obviously ransacked by bears, what should they do? Who should they call? Next steps.
Okay. Well, the hip strip bear is who we call the bear that's been working the downtown Missoula area along the river. He just showed up again. He was gone for about 2 weeks. I think he was up, in some of the side hill country eating serviceberry. Last night I got like 4 or 5 reports, and he's down somewhere along the river in the ditches in downtown Missoula right now.
Yeah, I stepped over a scat on like 5th and Gerald, and I was like, okay, so it must be the hip strip bear.
It's a hip strip bear. I'm sure he's going to stay for about a week. We'll try to capture him, but he's very savvy, and he'll head out again and then come back again. With the bear buffer zone concept, we were trying to get all the outside edges of Missoula. Sorry about that.
Maybe it's a bear call.
It is a bear call.
The hip strip bear has been spotted.
So the idea is if on the edges of Missoula, like let's say you live at the base of Mount Sentinel, 2 blocks out from the base of the mountain is bear country, lion country, but 2 blocks out, everyone in there has a bear-resistant dumpster, nobody has a bird feeder, and if you have chickens, they're electrified. So in that 2-block area...
The fencing's electrified, not the chickens.
Yeah, yes. And so it's like a barrier, a behavioral barrier, a clean zone. So the bears never learn the behavior as they go along the face of Mount Sentinel. That was the concept. It didn't work because it was the ordinances were only in the city, and so you had bears, learning on county lands. Now what we have in Missoula is, for example, in the rattlesnake, it's taken 20 years, but we probably have the majority of the residents in the rattlesnake saying, do the right thing, contain your garbage, and don't have bird feeders. So those bears that have been living the gravy train for the last 10 years are creeping further and further into town. And that's what... when you start seeing hip strip bears, that means it's out of hand.
So when someone sees something like that, though, should they call the health department, Fish, Wildlife, and Parks?
You can call Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, or you can get on MissoulaBears.org or the Missoula Bears Facebook page, and that's the best way to do it. Comes right to me. If it's not an emergency, don't call 911. 911 should be a bear coming in the front door, a bear stuck in your garage, not a bear up in the tree, not a bear tipping over your garbage can or pulling your bird feeder down. For all that general sort of stuff, call FWP on weekdays or hit the website or the Facebook page.
That's great advice.
So how does local government fit into the goals and aspirations of the working group?
We need a little meat on the plate. We have to be able to give a ticket here and there. Because, face it, in the rattlesnake, there were individuals that we could not get them to keep their garbage inside the garage or go bear resistant until they got 3 tickets. And then, it was like that started hitting the checkbook, and bang, they leased a bear resistant garbage can.
So what's a ticket that would work? What's a value that seems to work or catch people's attention?
It depends on the community, and a lot of times we'll go to the actual judges and we'll say we need something with a little bit more meat, because if it's only a $10 ticket, people pay it and wait till their next ticket. But once it gets up around $200 for your first ticket,
then behavior begins to change.
Yes, and we've seen that with a lot of the property management places, where we have a lot of the university students living. They don't realize they need to have their garbage in, and so we'll write a ticket to the management company, and then they'll quickly get a bear resistant product there. It solves the problem almost overnight.
In order to do any of that, will it require additional local laws, regulations?
Yes, on everything. And then a lot of times you can't even do the simplest thing because it's not even in a write-up of an ordinance, or there's so many weird things with county easements. We might want to put up a bear-resistant cage to keep bears out of garbage that's alongside a roadway, but we can't even put it on county easement land because it's not allowed at this time. So there's lots of little things to kind of work out so it's not so difficult to solve problems.
And what's the conversation like at the state level then, or with our lawmakers?
There are people that are supportive of it. We've gotten some good feeding laws in there, but right now it's tough to get legislation that involves anything to do with bears. Right now it's like there are too many bears. Get rid of bears. We want the grizzly delisted so we can hunt. But on these sort of more local levels, I think we can start doing things. And then hopefully when folks see progress, it'll even go up to a state level.
As far as just where we are currently at in trying to crack this nut and figure out this problem with the working group or any of the other partners, where are we at process-wise? And I'm assuming at some point we here in Missoula County and the city likewise will get a set of recommendations as far as what we need to do to move this initiative forward.
Yes. So we've given you the assessment of why the bear problems are occurring. And so that states the issues. And then the next thing that we'll be giving you will be the management plan on how to resolve the issues.
Hip strip bear.
Another bear.
Yep, another bear. I'm not quite sure how they're going to do that. It hasn't been done in Missoula before, but I imagine it'll be very similar to how we did it with the Missoula Bear Buffer Zone and the changing of the ordinance. But this time we'll be combining the county and the city together in a kind of a little experimental area that's basically the Five Valleys floor.
So it won't be county-wide. We can't get...
Yeah, this won't be county-wide, but, at least it's a start. And if people I know a lot of people in Sealy are very interested. So if it works here in Missoula and they see how the process worked and how to go about doing it, perhaps Sealy will like, hey, we want to do that too.
So this is the low-hanging fruit, and maybe develop some proof of concept that
yes.
we could take out elsewhere.
Yes. And a lot of people down in Ravalli County are very interested, and they're watching us closely. I know the community of Lolo, too, is like, well, we're not quite ready yet, Jamie, but we'll watch what you're doing there. Because if it solves the problem, it makes the community safer, and you don't have bears running all over town.
So
it's
real
a
quick,
good thing.
what are the boundaries of this kind of experiment?
It's basically the new management plan, the city growth plan. It's that same area.
Okay.
Exact same area. It's just superimposed right on top of that.
That would be
Let's see.
Give us some
Bonner, Milltown doesn't take in Lolo, but it takes in the lower portions of Miller Creek and then down into Grass Valley to the Y, I believe. But it doesn't go further down toward Huson yet.
Sounds like our land use element area for the growth policy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're excited to see how this turns out. I guess the ultimate goal is safe bears and safe people.
Yep. Yeah, I don't mind seeing bears work in the face of Mount Sentinel, but they have no business being in downtown Missoula.
So before we close, what's give us some nuggets of wisdom or a good book or podcast you've come across?
You had requested a good book, and I just started one. Someone from the 9 Mile just mailed me this and said, hey, Jamie, I think you'd like this book. But it's called Carnivore Minds by G.A. Bradshaw. It's blowing me away. I mean, it's like really looking at how predators think and carnivores think. I'm only about 2 chapters into it, but I can't put it down. And so I think it's going to be a really good read. I don't know if you have seen such books as The Hidden Life of Dogs or The Hidden Life of Cats. It's like that. It's going into the predator's mind. Like, how would these two little grizzlies that have showed up here in Missoula, how do they think? So I'm very much enjoying it.
Have any of you read The Hidden Life of Commissioners? It's a page turner. Well, that's all fantastic. Jamie, what again is the website URL that you gave us earlier?
Yeah, so MissoulaBears.org is for our weekly updates and just a lot of good links. Then the Missoula Bears Facebook page is like the sister communication forum, and that's where people get to banter back and forth and tell their own experiences. Then there's Bear Smart Missoula, and it's on the Missoula Bears website. And if you're interested in getting involved, helping out, there's a sign-up sheet there.
And then resources are there for electric fencing and
lots of good information, and it's all Missoula-centric.
All right.
Fantastic.
Everything you've ever wanted to know about electrifying chickens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Jamie.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks for listening to the Tip of the Spear podcast. If you enjoy these conversations, it would mean a lot if you would rate and review the show on whichever podcast app you like. And if you know a friend who would like to keep up with what's happening in local government, be sure to recommend this podcast to them. The Tip of the Spear podcast is made possible with support from MCAT, better known as Missoula Community Access Television, and our staff in the Missoula County Communications Division. If you have a question or topic you'd like us to address on a future episode, email it to communications@missoulacounty.us. And to find other ways to stay up to date with what's happening at Missoula County, go to missoula.co/county updates. And thanks for listening.